Hey everyone, it's Teresa and I'm back with a couple of really fun Cricut projects, and I want to thank Cricut for sponsoring today's video. I'm going to show you a couple of different ways to make some labels and what material to use. So I'm going to use, for the first project, some smart label. Now this stuff is actually dissolvable, and then the second one I'm going to use some temporary vinyl, and I'm going to use this little water bottle and a couple of cups, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Alright, so we're going to jump into Design Space, and I'm going to go ahead and create some of these dissolvable labels. That's our first little bit. And I'm going to get an oval to start with, and I'm going to get it to be where it's about 3 or so inches wide and about, I think, 1.5 or so inches tall. Just whatever size label you want to make it. I do end up trying to make a large one too, for a really fun little thing for kids to do. It is much harder to peel off the larger labels for larger things. So I would recommend keeping them a little bit on the smaller side, such as this. This is perfectly fine. I had no problems with this one. So now I'm going to go ahead and select some text, and this one I'm going to use some names. So this is going to be really fun. You can put these on cups, especially if you're going to have a lot of friends or family over. I'm going to change that to be where we're going to use a pen, and I'm going to use a 1mm marker for it in the color black. Whatever color you have, doesn't really matter what color you select on the screen. And we're going to change the font, and I'm going to go ahead and change this to be something with a kind of like a handwritten look to it. Again, just for fun. You change it to whatever you want, and if you want to try and make it more of like a handwritten thing, you have to go back and select it back to pen. Again, I don't know why it doesn't let you just leave it the way it is, but it doesn't. You can see here it does have a little bit of space on the inside that you could fill in. I chose not to fill it in on this one. I'll show you another option. When you select it, you want to make sure you're welding it together, as long as you're happy with where all of those letters are placed. If you don't, you'll want to adjust like the letter space, and then if it's multiple lines, the line space, and you kind of catch the drift, right? So if you're not happy with it though, you want to ungroup it and then push it over. I just did that just with my keys on my keyboard. It's a little easier than moving it around with your mouse, because you could move it anywhere by accident. Once you're good, I usually go ahead and group it first. That way I'm happy with everything the way it is, and you can ungroup it if you had to, or you can go ahead and just, dive in and commit and weld it. So right here, I am going to just adjust the sizing a little bit, make sure that it's centered in the middle of that oval. Once everything is good, I'm going to go ahead and group it, so all of those pieces and parts aren't going to go places I don't want them to. I don't know. I am going to undo the grouping real quick because I do want to duplicate it, so I'm just going to hit duplicate, easy as can be. And now I'm going to go ahead and take that one, make sure it's centered, and then I'll group it. And now I'm going to select this, and I'm going to change the font though. I was thinking like, well, maybe I could just adjust the font I had, but I didn't, and it doesn't matter. I want something different. So I'm select the text option, and I'm going to go ahead and change this to say Mark. Those are my parents' names. I figured that was the easiest thing. And now I'm going to change this to where it's a little bit of a more fun, wider font. Now it's going to automatically tell you want it to cut, so you're going to need to change it to the pen, and then select the size of the pen or the kind of pen that you're going to be using. And on here, it's going to be kind of fun, because if you did this, you could have people color it in, you could just leave it open, you pick what you want to do, right? And if it's kids, they may like to color it in. Don't forget to save your projects. I have done that many times when I've accidentally not saved it, and then I went to come back and make it again, and I couldn't. Alright, so same steps as before. Now that you've got it in the right spot, I'm going to go ahead and make sure those are all attached to each other before we're going to go send it to make a new labels. Now here I'm going to show you real quick. I am going to speed through the process here, but I'm going to look up a unicorn, and I'm going to make sure it has the option to draw it. And so it's going to give me really thin lines to be able to do this. This is if you have some really fun labels that you kind of want to make. That way your kids could maybe draw on them or have fun with them. They're a lot harder to peel off of the backing paper that these dissolvable labels are. And I was thinking of it, I was like, well, this is really fun, but then again, kids usually like to keep their stuff, right? They don't like their art going in other places. So I didn't really talk through, obviously, what I just clicked through. I just wanted to show you there's other things you could do with your labels. If maybe you're having a fun themed party and everybody gets a different animal. I don't know, something fun, right? But once you're done with all of your labels, we're going to go ahead and click Make It. And now it's going to ask, I'm going to do it without a mat and a 13-inch material. And it's going to automatically put it on there. I'm just going to hit Continue. And now I'm going to go into Browse My Materials, and you'll see the Smart Dissolvable Labels. Hit Done. I'm going to leave the default pressure normal, and here's kind of the settings that you need to have your machine set up for. I'll show you kind of the way to do that in just a minute, including the auto cutoff blade. That's an optional thing. It doesn't cut as well as I would have thought. So on here, click up your little guides, move your little doodad in the middle. See, I'm so great with the technical terms. Then you're going to start to feed that paper through. You want to make sure your latch is up. You can't move that little thing in the middle unless your latch is up. And then once you've gotten the paper in the right spot, you push it down. And once you're ready to go, make sure you do not forget your pen. I did actually do this whole thing and forgot to do a pen on one of them. So you put in that little guide. That is kind of like a piece that helps you make sure it fits, and it comes with the machine. Once it's in there though, you click your button to kind of set your machine into running. And once it makes sure everything is good to go, it's going to light up your triangle, and then it's going to start to do everything. So right now it's drawing. This is sped up. I know this machine is super fast, but it is sped up about 2 times. So just for your knowledge on that one. But it's going to draw everything out on the paper. This is dissolvable paper, so just keep that in mind. It is obviously something it can draw on because it's paper. And this is just a 1mm marker from Cricut. And it's going to just draw everything on there, and it just, I think that unicorn is so cute. It's like almost like I don't want him to dissolve. And then it's going to go ahead and cut out your circles, or ovals in my case, and then it's going to ask you to switch out and put in your cutoff blade if you choose to use it. It's not something you have to do, but I'm going to just slip that right back in there, close my latch, and then I'll tell the machine to go ahead and get going. It's not blinking, but you have to push the triangle. And then it's going to try to cut it off. For whatever reason, it did not go all the way through, but that's okay. So I'm just going to show you using one of these labels. Again, the bigger one was a lot more tricky. So you're going to peel it off, and it's super thin. It's weird. It's like a cross between, like, I don't know, like a paper label and not. It's almost like it's a little thinner than that. So just go ahead and press it onto your cup. See, there's the larger one. I went ahead and colored it in just to show, and now I'm going to do the dissolvable part. This is just water. It's nothing more to it than that. I'm just going to spray it in. You could obviously do this in the sink for a less messy method. Take a little bit of a paper towel, just keep wetting it, and it comes off really easily. I think these would be really, really fun for family gatherings, and you could get the kids involved with coloring on them and everything like that. So on to the next one. This one is just going to be vinyl. I'm going to use some removable vinyl, and I'm going to put it on a water bottle, a reusable water bottle. I went ahead and already did all my lettering, and now what I've done, I'm taking a rectangle just shape to kind of splice with my lettering. That way, when I'm ready to weed it out or cut it up, I'm not cutting up the 26-inch wide vinyl. It'll make sense in a minute. So I'm going to go ahead, and I did attach. You don't have to attach. You could skip that part actually. See, I just went ahead and hit back to reset it like where it is. But then I'm going to go ahead and do the slice, pull out the excess. I'm going to leave that part right there because I want it to cut out my rectangle. Once your vinyl part is ready to go, I'm going to go ahead and go in to make it just like before, except I'm going to select the removable vinyl. I'm going to do the 25-inch wide material, hit confirm. It shows you where it's going to go. Go ahead and select the smart removable vinyl, and then this time I'm not going to have the auto cutoff on. Let's go ahead and load that into the machine. It's already set up for the 25-inch material. Just guide it through. It's a little easier to do it from the front of the machine, but obviously you wouldn't be able to see it then. Once it's in there, you just hit the button to put it in, and it cuts it. Voila! So this is why I wanted to make sure that I had the square or rectangle around it. I'm just going to weed out any of the little excess pieces of the vinyl. And then I'm going to remove the larger amount around it. What this is going to do is to make sure that I can still use all of that stuff over on the other side. I cut off a little piece of my transfer tape, and I'm just going to make sure that I am pressing firmly down on the lettering part. I don't want to press it down on everything because I really am just wanting to pull off the part that's cut, not the uncut part. You just kind of have to be a little careful when you're doing it, just to try to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. Now this is the fun part. I have some water with a little bit of dish soap in it, and I applied that to my bottle and to my vinyl. What this does is if you get it in a spot you don't like it, you can move it like that. Voila! And it also is going to help you get an application that doesn't have tons and tons of bubbles. This would be super handy when you're putting something on glass, when you're doing something really large. The lettering like this, I probably could have lived without having done it this way. But I'm going to get a little squeegee, and I'm just going to try and basically push out as much of the water as possible. That's going to do is make it dry a lot faster because you can't remove the transfer tape until everything is dry. I removed it before it was like completely dry, so if you can stand to wait for it, I'd say wait for it. So right now it's not 100% dry. I should have waited a little longer, but I am not patient. So just basically removing your transfer tape like you normally would. Go a little slow. See, there's a spot that came up on, but again, it's because I didn't wait for it to dry all the way. If you can do a project where you're going to wait like 2 or 3 hours depending on the size, or maybe even overnight would have been a good idea, but again, I'm not patient. So I'm going to just kind of work it to where I can get it to come off just right, and it's going to leave me with an application that is bubble free. It's the hardest part of vinyl, in my opinion, is the bubbles. And I was like, well, this is a good way to test it, right? This is what I have heard is one way to avoid it. But once that's done, you're ready to go. I'm going to let it sit and dry to make sure that it's 100% dry. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you next time.